Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present, finding a nice, comfortable seated position on a pillow or blanket or a block, something that allows the back of your spine or your spine, the back of your neck and your spine to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and then opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. And soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Pratyahara. And Pratyahara is the fifth limb of Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga. And it is a bridge between the first 4 limbs of yoga, which is the yamas, the niyamas, the asanas, and the pranayamas, limbs of Patanjali's 8 limbs, those limbs that focus on our awareness, on our external world. Excuse me. And it bridges those with the last 3 limbs of yoga, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Limbs that focus our awareness on our internal world. Pratyahara translates to withdrawal of senses. It's about reversing the flow of energy on the inside, and it's about withdrawing from or not reacting to, and I like that phrasing better, not reacting to sensory impressions so you can free the mind to move within. It allows you to be in the world, but not of it. I read an article this week about Pratyahara, and it is, kind of I forget the title of it, but it was basically it's the forgotten limb, and we so familiar with the asanas, the yoga poses, the breathing, the pranayama, the yamas and niyamas we talk about a lot, especially kindness, the first yama, and meditation we often talk about, the internal ones. But Pratyahara, that bridge, is what this author said is the forgotten limb. And his point was that nowadays, in the world that we're living in, it should be the most important limb because we have such sensory overload. And Pratyahara suggests, to let that be, but not be of it, and not let that consume you and take over you. You can, just like when we get ready for meditation, your thoughts are there. They're not going to go away. That's what your head does, your mind does. But we can be kind of an observer of that and not get all wrapped up in that. And I thought it was a point really well made, especially since we do kind of live in a world, not kind of, we do live in a world that is just with sensory overload with social media and the news. It just is a limb to take a serious look at and bring it into your life. So for today's pranayama breathing technique, there is a pranayama breathing technique that's really associated with Pratyahara, the fifth limb. And it's called the humming bee breath, or Bramari. And Bramari is the name of India's national bee, like Vermont has our honeybee. Bramari is a type of bee that is India's insect of the year, I guess. So it's called Bramari, but we know it as humming bee breath. And I'm going to illustrate how to do it, and then we're going to do it 3 times, and then I'm going to add a mudra on top of that you can use or not use. It'll be up to you. And that mudra is Shanmukhi Mudra, is something that will help to close the gates of perception. But let's start with the Bramari, the humming bee breath. So let me just illustrate it, and then you can do it. We'll do it 3 times because it involves not being able to hear me. So with the Bramari humming bee breath, the first thing we do is we close our eyes and our mouth, and then we press the little ear flaps. The cartilage is called tragus, or tragus. Those little ear flaps, you just kind of take your fingers and press them in so you can't hear. And then inhale, and then hum on the exhale. So closing your eyes, closing your ears, closing your mouth. Take a big inhale, and then hum on your exhale. Let's just do that 3 times. So with that, I have a fan going. I can't hear the fan. I can't hear anything. I hear the humming. And it does kind of displace any thoughts that could be running through my head. So it really kind of shuts down a lot of things. And, you know, again, the way this limb translates is withdrawal of the senses. So it's shutting down a lot of those. So if you want, you can add this mudra, the Shanmukhi Mudra, on top of it. And I'll just illustrate what you do. So using your thumbs, you put your thumbs on your ear flaps and closing your ears. Your index fingers go on your eyes. The middle fingers go on the side of your nose. You don't want to close your nose, though, and it's going to make it tough to breathe. And the ring fingers go on the top of your mouth, and the pinkies go on the bottom. So you're just kind of closing the gates of perception, the hearing, the sight, the smell, and the sense of taste. So that Shanmukhi Mudra is something you can add to the Bramari, or you can just do the Bramari. So let's just do 3 more breaths, and you can choose which way you would like to approach it. So I'll meet you in a moment or so after I've done my 3. Mm. 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 All right. And I will meet you on the mat. Start our asana. All righty. So, beginning with our sun breaths and chest openers, we're going to just have our fingers by the side and slowly bringing our fingers up overhead and inhaling slowly in pace with our hands rising up overhead. And then exhale, bringing them down slowly, opening up. On the inhale, and kind of bringing our hands as far back as possible, it's comfortable for you. And then closing the hands on the exhale. Inhale up. Bring your hands up over your head, your arms along the side of your ears. And then bringing your hands down on the exhale. We'll do that 2 more times. So inhale slowly up. And exhale down. Inhale open. As far back as comfortable. Exhale, close. Inhale up. Hands overhead. Arms alongside of your ears. And then exhale down. One last time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale open. Exhale close. Inhale up. Stretch it up to the sky. And exhale down. Okay, with your legs across, you can set your feet side by side. And we're going to do a seated forward fold. Bringing your hands out in front of you, we're just going to walk, keeping your back nice and straight, kind of pivoting at the waist. You walk your hands out till you reach that sweet spot between effort and relaxation. And then if it's comfortable for you, you send your elbows down toward the mat. And then you can send your head down towards the mat. And then lift your head up Lift your elbows up. We're going to walk our hands over to the right. Bringing our torso over our right leg. And then walk the hands back toward ourselves, sitting upright. Bringing the knee up to the sky. Wrap your left arm around your right leg, sending your right fingertips behind your hips and twisting your torso to the right. And then coming back to center. And then we'll swap feet. And we'll do that all on the other side. So again, walking your hands out to that sweet spot. Gently guiding your elbows down to the mat. And then sending your forehead down towards the mat. And then lifting your head up, lifting your elbows up. We'll walk our hands over to the left. Trying to have our torso over our left leg. And then walking our hands back toward our body and lifting our left knee up to the sky. We'll wrap the right arm around the left knee, sending the left fingertips behind our hips and twisting our torso to the left. Then we'll release that. We'll roll down on the mat. Your choice of how to roll down, knees bent, knees straight. Express method, your choice. And slowly going down with control, trying to connect your vertebrae. And then we'll bring our knees to our chest and just kind of rock and roll here. Wake up our spine. Wake up our back. Creating that nice long spine connection with the mat. And then with our interlaced fingers, we're going to wrap them around the left knee and send the right leg out toward the bottom of the mat. We'll hover here for a moment and flexing our toes and then pointing our toes. Flexing both toes, pointing both toes. Flex, point, flex, point, flex, point. One more flex and point. And we're going to send the toe up to the sky and then send it over to the side. It doesn't have to go too far. And then back up again. And then down. We'll do that 2 more times. So keeping the toes pointed, sending the toe up to the sky, sending the foot over to the side, and then back up again, and then back down. And one last time, up to the side, back up, and down. Then bring both knees back to your chest, give them a nice hug. And then we'll use our interlaced fingers and wrap them around our right knee, sending the left foot out to hover at the bottom of the mat. And then we'll flex the toes, pointing them up to the sky. Point the toes, flex, and point, flex, and point, flex and point, flex and point. And then we'll bring the left toe, keeping it pointed up to the sky, and then sending it out to the side, and then back up to the sky, and back down. We'll do that 2 more times. Keeping the toes pointed. My feet cramping, so I'm going to do a little flexing and pointing. Bringing the toe up to the sky, sending it over to the side. Then back up to the sky, and back down. And one last time, pointing up to the sky, over to the side, back up to the sky, and then back down. And bring both knees back to your chest, give them a nice hug. Maybe do a little bit more walk and roll to wake up your spine. And then we're going to come up to tabletop, so you can either bring your knees over to the side and come up to tabletop, or if you'd like, you can rock and roll yourself up to a seat position and then come into tabletop. So let me just rock and roll up, and cross over, coming to tabletop. And with tabletop, your wrists are right below your shoulders. Fingers are splayed out, gripping the mat slightly. Knees are right below your hips, navel's tucked to the spine. And we'll do a few head turns. So we're going to take our nose and just move it over to the right. And then back to center, and then over to the left. And back to center, and over to the right again. And back to center, and over to the left. Nice gentle movements. If you feel any strain, and over to the right. Just try to soften up everything in the top part of your shoulders and your neck and your head. Over to the left. And back down. One more time to the right. Back to center. One time, last time to the left. Back to center. And we'll go into cat-cow, so rounding our back, dropping our head and tailbone down. And then inhaling up to cow, sending our gaze straight ahead, tailbone goes up. And then rounding the back on the exhale to cat. Head goes down, tailbone goes down. Inhale up to cow. And we'll just continue at this pace or your own pace, just for a few moments. Really stretching it out, really thinking about your alignment, hands pressed into the mat, equal distribution of weight into the hands. Really arching your back on cat, and then, or rounding your back and arching your back and cow. And just go for a few more moments. All right, back to tabletop. And we're going to take our elbows and bring them down to the mat, right where our hand imprints were, sending our fingers toward the front of the mat. back our legs up slowly, bringing our forehead down to the mat and bringing our chest down to the mat. And you just come to keep backing up until you can feel that comfort of comfort zone there of bringing your forehead to the mat. Maybe not your chest, but stretching your chest toward the mat will work as well. And then we'll lift our head and chest and walk our knees back. And then come back up to tabletop. We'll kickstand our left foot outside of the mat, sending our right foot down to the bottom of the mat. Left wrist is right below the left shoulder. And we're going to do a modified plank by sweeping our hand up to the sky. And then we're going to go into a gate pose. So we're going to bring that hand over to our right leg, setting it down, and sweeping our left arm up and over. And then bringing our left hand back down to the mat, back to gate pose. And instead of having our hands straight up, we're going to move it to the front of the mat. So we have this nice one long line of energy from our toes to our fingertips. And then back up again, back to gate pose. And then back down, modified side plank with our arm extended forward. And one last time, up to gate pose. And then bringing our hand down for modified plank, keeping our right hand up and then bringing it back down to the mat. We'll do that on the other side. So come back to tabletop and then kickstand your right leg out, sending your left leg down to the bottom of the mat. And we'll sweep our left hand up to the sky. And then come up for gate pose, bringing our right arm over, creating that nice arc, crescent shape. Bringing our right hand back down to the mat, sending our left hand up and then to the front of the mat, creating that nice long line. And then bringing our left hand back up again and back down to our thigh, sweeping our right hand up and over. And then bringing our right hand back down to the mat, sweeping our left hand up and bringing it straight to the top of the mat. And one last gate, coming back up. Sweeping over, and then coming back to modified plank with our hands straight up in the sky and then bringing it down to the mat. Come back to tabletop and we'll tuck our toes under, walk our hands coming into the squat and then pushing down into our feet, coming up to mat pose. Let's point our big toes to the straight edge of the mat. Lift our toes up off the mat. And bring them back down. And then lift our heels up off the mat. And bring them back down. And really feel that grounded connection to the earth. Stillness, the strength, the support of the earth. And then also we'll look at the essentials of good posture. So our legs are nice and straight and strong. Nice gentle flex in our knees. Navel's tucked to the spine, creating a nice long spine and back of the neck. Shoulders are relaxed, roll back. Crown of our head reaches up to the sky. We'll sweep our hands up overhead. Big inhale. And then exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And then bringing our hands to our shins, straightening out our back, setting our gaze straight down for half forward fold. And then send the crown of our head down toward the mat. And let our hands just dangle here for a moment. Let gravity take over. And then sweep our hands all the way up overhead. And as they come up overhead, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes, reaching up to the sky. And then coming back down with our hands and slowly lowering our heels back down to the mat. And we'll do that 2 more times, sweeping our hands all the way up to the sky, slowly coming up onto our tippy toes. And then slowly coming back down again. Nice, gentle flow and movement. Sweeping our hands all the way up one last time. Coming up onto our tippy toes. And then back down. We'll bring our hands all the way back down to the mat. We're bringing our hands to our shins, creating a nice flat back. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. Sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And then we're going to bring our hands all the way back down again. Oh no, I'm not done yet. Okay, side stretch first. Put our right hand down to the side of our thigh and slide it down toward our knee. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. And then back up again. And then left hand goes down to the left thigh, sliding it down toward the knee. And then back up again. One more time on the right side. Sliding it down. And one back. Bringing it back up. And left hand comes down. Sliding it down toward our knee. And then back up again. And then we'll bring our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And when we're down here, we're going to do a few squats and then forward fold. So the first thing we'll do is come up onto our toes and squat down. So we're on the balls of our feet are on our toes. And then we'll bring the heels back down to the mat, straightening our legs, sending the crown of our head down for a forward fold. And then come back to the squat. So just lifting your heels up, coming onto the balls and toes of your feet. And then sending the heels back down to the mat, straightening the legs, sending the crown of the head down. And one last time, coming to the balls of our feet. And then sending our heels back down to the mat, straightening the legs, sending the crown of the head down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come down to heart center. And then palms come to the back of our hips or supported back bend. So our feet are about hip width apart. Arms are resting on our hips, fingertips pointing down, shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Tucking the chin toward our chest. We'll just send our shoulders back. And find that sweet spot between comfort and relaxation. Comfort, yeah, no, there's effort and relaxation. We'll find that sweet spot of really comfort and relaxing at the same time. Which I think at this point, we've done this pose so much, I think it does lend itself to comfort and relaxation. Alrighty, we'll come back up to mountain pose. All right, so we'll sweeping our hands up overhead. And then we'll bring them all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And then we're going to send our right foot out, coming into runner's lunge. Bringing the front foot with our hands. We would place the right hand on the mat, sweep the left hand up to the sky. And then bring that left hand back down. And then we're going to send that right knee to the mat, atop the right foot to the mat, into low lunge. And we'll walk our hands back. And as we do, we're going to straighten out our left leg, pointing the toes up to the sky. And then walk our hands forward, sending our gaze and our heart forward. We'll do that 2 more times. So walking our hands back, straighten out the left leg, pointing the toes up to the sky. And then walking our hands slowly forward, sending our gaze straight ahead, reaching out with our heart. And then back again, one last time. And then coming forward, setting our gaze forward and our heart forward. Stretching, you feel that in the tops of your thighs. And then we'll walk our hands. We're going to take both hands and walk them along the long edge of the mat, coming into a wide-legged stance. With our hands right below our shoulders, we're going to take our feet and have the toes point forward. So they're not pointing to the corners. And then we'll walk our hands over to our right foot. And then we're going to come down, bending our right knee, come down to a one-legged squat. Our left leg is fully extended with the toes pointing up to the sky. And we're on the balls of our feet on our right foot. And then we'll walk our hands back to center. Bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips. Straighten out our torso, coming up to a wide-legged stance. In this, you can actually have your toes pointing to the corners. And then we're going to take our toes and point them to the left, coming into warrior 2. So the left knee's over the left ankle, back foot's nice and snug. Chest is facing the long edge of the mat, lifting our arms out at shoulder height, sending our gaze to our left fingertips. And then bringing our left arm down to our left thigh, sweeping the right hand all the way up and over, pointing to the top of the mat. So again, creating that one long line of energy from our toes to our fingertips. And then bringing the right hand down to the mat, coming back to runner's lunge, sending the left foot back to join the right foot, coming into plank. Wrists are right below the shoulders, heels pushing toward the back of the mat, navel's tucked in, no saggy tummies. Then we'll lift the right foot up, cross it over the left, set the toes down, and then lift it back to plank position. Do that 2 more times. Lift the right foot up, cross it over, bring it down to the mat, and then back to the original position. And this last time, we'll lift it, cross it over, set it down. And if you like, you can come and twist into a side plank. And then back down. And we'll either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down to the mat. And we'll send our arms alongside our body, palms facing up, and the left cheek resting on its side for supine Savasana. So in this pose, you can relax. It's not a mountain pose where you need to keep your body energized. It's a relaxation. And part of that article that I was saying is like, okay, you know, that mystery of the Pratyahara limb, you know, when that is the least known. Like, well, so how do you practice it? One of the ways is the Bramari or hummingbee breath. And to his point, Shavasana is a way of practicing it. We'll get to the regular Shavasana, but this is supine Shavasana. And also he suggested that sleeping, you know, our 8 hours of sleep is a time where our senses are shut down. We don't have that overload of stimulus going on, hopefully. Alrighty, we'll bring our hands just below our shoulders and elbows tucked to the ribs. Bring your head to center, raising up to cobra. And then up to tabletop. And then tucking our toes under to downward dog. And we're just going to use downward dog to walk our feet forward, coming into a forward fold. And then raising our arms up to the sky. Palms come together. And palms come to heart center. All right, we'll do that on the other side. A little faster. Sweeping our hands up overhead. And then bring them down to the mat. We're going to send our left foot back, coming into runner's lunge. And then laying our left hand down on the mat, sweep our right hand up to the sky. And then bringing it back down. We bring the left knee down to the mat, top of the left foot down to the mat. And walk our hands slowly back, straightening our right leg, sending our right toes up to the sky. And then walking our hands forward, Sending our gaze forward, sending our heart forward. And then walking our hands back again, straightening out the leg, sending the toes up to the sky. Walking our hands forward, sending our gaze forward, sending our heart forward. And we're walking back again. One last time. Straightening the leg, toes flexed up to the sky. And walking forward. Sending the gaze forward and opening up the. And then we'll come back to runner's lunge. We'll walk our hands along the long side of the mat. Coming to wide-legged stance. We'll take our toes and point them forward. And we'll walk our hands over to our right leg. And then bend the knee on our right leg. Sending the left leg straight and the left toes up to the sky for one-legged squat. There we go, one-legged squat. And then we'll walk our hands back to center. Bending our knees and bringing our hands to our hips. We'll bring our torso upright. Up and around. And then we'll turn our toes to the right this time, coming into warrior two on the other side. So the right knee's over the right ankle. Back foot's nice and snug in the mat. Chest is open to the long side. Sending our arms up to shoulder height. Sending our gaze to the right fingertips. And then bringing our right forearm down to our right side. Sweeping the left hand all the way up and over to the front of the mat, creating that one nice long line of energy. And then bringing the left hand all the way down the mat, back to runner's lunge. And then sending the right foot back to meet the left foot into plank. Shoulders are right above the wrists. Heels are pushing back. Navel's tucked to the spine. And we're going to lift the left foot up and over the right, landing on the mat. And then bring it back to position, plank position. And lift it up again, cross it over. And bring it down. And then back to position. And on the third one, you lift it up and over, landing it, and you can join me to the side plank. There we go. And then bring the left hand back down. We'll come down, chaturanga, or knees, chest, chin. And bring our right cheek to the mat. Arms are alongside us, palms facing up. Put us up behind Savasana. Then we'll bring our hands right under our shoulders, elbows tucked to our side, coming into Cobra. And then coming into tabletop. And with the tabletop, we're not going to go to downward dog because we're going to go to child's pose. So we're going to lower our hips down to our ankles. And with this child's pose, bringing your arms alongside you, maybe resting them on your tops of your bottoms of your feet, rather, bringing your forehead down to the mat. And imagine, this is an image that's commonly associated with Pratyahara, withdrawing of the senses, is a turtle withdrawing into its shell. So kind of envision yourself as that turtle. And then we'll come back up to tabletop. We'll swing our feet out to the side, and then we'll roll down on the mat. So again, you can choose your method of rolling down. I'm going to go back to my knees bent, going a little slower than I did last time. Bring your knees to your chest and give them a hug again. We rock and roll. Or maybe make some nice big circles with your toes. Another way of massaging the lower back. We go one way and then the other. And then bringing your feet down to the mat, about hip width apart. We're going to send our arms out to shoulder height. We're going to do some windshield wipers with a somatic twist of the hands. So our hands are going to become like flippers. You're going to be opening and then closing them as flippers as your legs go from one side to the other. So let's lower our legs to the right side first. Both hands are face down. We're going to actually flip the left hand up so it's facing the sky and sending our gaze to that left hand. Left hand is open, right hand is closed down to the earth. And bringing our legs back to center, head back to center, and lowering the legs to the left side, sending our gaze to our right fingertips. We're going to then flipper our hands so that the right hand's facing up and left hand's facing down. Right hand open, left hand closed. And then bringing our legs back to center again, head back to center. We'll flip to the other side. Left hands open, right hand closed, eyes to left hand. And then we'll bring our legs back to center again, head back to center, lowering to the other side, flipping our hands, sending our gaze to our right. And we can pick up this pace and just go at your own comfort level. But kind of make this nice, smooth movement of somatic windshield wipers. Slow and with control. Opening and closing your hands. do just a few more and then we'll prepare ourselves for Shavasana. Back to center. When you reach the center again, you send your feet down to the bottom of the mat. Send your heels to each corner. Relax your feet, relax your legs, relax your waist. Relax your arms, bring them at a diagonal with the palms facing up. Really, really relax your shoulders. Relax the muscles in your face. Deeply inhale and exhale through your mouth, just releasing your body into the mat. You do that inhale, exhale a couple times so you really feel that you've fully relaxed. And I'll read a poem to you. This is from our friend Danna Faulds. She just released this on Wednesday. And I read it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's today's class. So I couldn't resist reading it to you. Its title is In the Mystery. How pervasive the belief that what we can see, hear, taste, and touch is the only reality. It might seem a logical conclusion, but it simply isn't true. The mystery casts no shadow, yet the power of its presence is without boundaries. Everything flows from it, and it's what we all return to in the end. What makes sense to me is spending as much time in the mystery as I can, letting go of what I think I know, and giving myself over to divinity's wide expanse. What I get from my surrender practice may seem intangible to you, but it has blessed my life with contentment.